It's my pleasure to announce and the winner of the award. So, and I would note that Rotary's been giving this award out since 1994, which I think is pretty incredible. It's almost 30 years. And it's given
Recording in progress.
It's given in order of Kate Smith, who was a long-time resident of Lake Placid, actually Buck Island, to be precise, during the summer. And the award is given to a student of Lake Placid Middle and High School who really exemplifies excellence in musical abilities, whether that's through their ability, their dedication, or their contribution to the program. And with that, I'll just welcome, as a heads up, Nadia Phillips here and her family, as well as the school principal, Teresa Lindsay, musical director, Taylor Prosper, and band teacher, Emily Kokova, to Rotary today. And the award is a cash prize of $1,000 to be given to defray college application expenses, travel application fees, and so on. So I'll give a brief background on Kate Smith, and forgive me for using the notes. I want to make sure I get this right. So she was born in 1907, died in 1986, and is buried here in St. Agnes Cemetery. And she was an absolutely prolific performer, incredibly making over 15,000 radio shows and recording over 3,000 songs, which is incredible. And in fact, she started singing from the age of 8 years old, where she sang for the troops during World War I. But really the height of her popularity was during the Great Depression and World War II. And at this time, she really became famous and in a way became the voice of optimism for the nation during that difficult time. In fact, she was named one of the 3 or 4 most popular women in America for several years running during that time, and was the most successful performer in selling war bonds, which we used to finance the war effort. Through her kind of fundraising activities, she raised over $600 million for the World War II, which is incredible. Now, the song she is most famous for is God Bless America, and I didn't realize this, but this was actually written expressly for her by Irving Berlin, and she first sang it in 1938. So Home Sweet Home for her, as mentioned, was Lake Placid, and with that, I'd actually like to hand over to John Hutlinger, who actually knew her back in the day.
Well, I did know her a little bit, inexplicably at St. Agnes Church. When she was in attendance, for some reason that song was on the agenda for her singing at the end of Mass. And if you're a tourist and you heard this song and then this voice coming from one of the front pews, you were like shaking your head, saying, "Wait a minute, what's going on?" Anyway, so Charlotte did a great description. I knew Kate Smith from point of view of work. I worked for her caretaker at her camp on Buck Island. I was 14 years old. I wanted the summer job. I couldn't find a job. I guess I was underage at the time, and my mother, who happened to know Kate Smith, I never heard anybody call her Kate. It was always Miss Smith or Catherine. But my mother said, "Well, John would like looking for a job, and he can't find one." She said, "Well, I'll hire him." And I worked for her caretaker, John Viscomi, who some of you may know, and just doing odd jobs, cutting the grass and working in the gardens. And so we take the boat up to Camp Sunshine on Buck Island, as Charlotte mentioned. And it was a great job. I learned a lot, and I went on to work at other camps during the rest of my high school, college career. But she was very down to earth, very sort of understated. She didn't really socialize much. She had a small circle of friends within the community, including a woman named Flora Donovan, who had a gift shop on Main Street, and Miss Smith would be seen in that shop, quite a bit, just sort of hanging out and spending time there. She loved Lake Placid and basically ended up spending the rest of her years here. And it was, like I said, I didn't know her well, but I had these connections. She loved driving she had a big Chris Craft boat, Sunshine 1, I believe it was, and she loved driving that boat. Was very active, swimmer. I think she played golf, and very nice person. Not what you'd consider of a celebrity, really, in that she was just very humble, down to earth, and it was an interesting experience knowing her, and that's basically my connection.
She made good cake too, right, John?
What's that?
She made good cakes.
Well, she did. I mentioned this before. She was a good cook, and John Muscomi and I used to eat our lunch in the boathouse, and one day we were sitting in the boathouse eating our lunch, and the door flies open. She strides in and just got this big piece of cheesecake, and it was. She had baked it, and it was a wonderful cheesecake. I mean, I remember that from years ago, but I suspect it was, it was the real thing. So, but yes, that's correct. Thank you for reminding me that.
Just to add a couple of things,
Yeah.
we started 1994.
I think the year we formed the club
Yeah.
is when we started this award. Bill Stowe was one of our founding members, and Bill was enamored with Kate Smith, and he just loved her music. But Bill was of a different era. He ran our first Ironman aid station, and he thought that the most inspiring music to play at the aid station would be Kate Smith. And some of us said, well, he insisted, but so Bill got this going, and I think that the idea was good. She's a local celebrity, but she was of humble demeanor, and I think it fit in well with what we're trying to accomplish through this award, which is supporting local folks, aspiring careers, and recognizing the talent of our local students, and I think she sort of espoused that as well. She had very little training, as I understand, and she was just sort of a natural, just had this natural gift, and so we're sort of celebrating that and sort of bringing it on with continuing with this award.
I had heard that she really enjoyed to eat, and she would go every Sunday to breakfast at what was then Hojo's, which is now the Dak Shack. And there were some ladies that worked in that restaurant that spoke highly of her. Apparently she was a very friendly person when
But she was, and from my perspective, very friendly, but almost shy in a way. I mean, she was comfortable in these settings, going to Hojo's, sitting at the Lavender Shop on Main Street, and some of you may remember Connie Blunt Senior at the high school, and she and Connie were very good friends, and so she just had a real connection to the local community in a sort of low-key, understated way.
Worth mentioning that she also raised a lot of money for the local community. if I'm not mistaken.
She did, and the royalties from her songs are continuing to help Eline Mercy Center, St. Agnes Church. I think there are one or two other. I think the
The
hospital.
hospital, yeah.
And so those royalties are continuing to come in, and because she had no family of her own, so she was very generous to the community.
Great, thank you so much,
Yeah.
John.
Okay.
Without further ado, Taylor, please introduce Nadia.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Taylor Prosper. I am the high school and middle school chorus teacher at Lake Placid, and I also direct the musical. It's my honor to introduce this lovely young student that you're about to hear, Nadia Phillips. When I first met Nadia 4 years ago, she was a very quiet leader, as I like to call her. She wasn't very outspoken, but when I needed her to do something, she was right there to do it, and always with a smile on her face, and she just got the job done. I've always really respected that about her. Then we fast forward a year later to 9th grade, where we had a little bit of a pandemic. Not sure if you heard about it. And then I got to see Nadia do a solo song in our first Broadway showcase. She stood out on the stage. She's like, "Oh no, what happens if I see them?" I'm like, you can take your glasses off if you want. She wore her glasses, so she was feeling confident that day. And then right from that moment, I was like, this girl's going places. And then fast forward from there, we have area all states, all counties, solos at concerts, NYSSMA solos, musicals, leads in musicals. She had never done a musical before ever, and she landed the role of Ariel in Little Mermaid. Pretty big role in the show, I'd say. Morticia Adams this past spring. She's fantastic, and I can't say enough good things about her. This is Nadia Phillips. She'll be performing Bonsoir by Claude Debussy. Tomorrow, she's actually performing this for an evaluation from the New York State School Music Association. So, a little test run for her. So, without further ado, Nadia Phillips. Set this down. Put it right here.
Thank you so much, Nadia. And with that, it is my pleasure and honor to give to you the number one, the check. Congratulations, first and foremost, and a certificate as well. On behalf of the Rotary Club overall. Did you want to pick two?
Yeah. And the plaque.
And the plaque.
Let's see that
Oh my
plaque.
gosh. And that has your name engraved on it.
Not
It-
yet.
Oh, it will be. It will be. It will have to be. We have this section now.
Cool.
Great, congratulations
Thank you so
again.
much.
Okay, can I just add a couple?
Please.
Just one thing, for years I've done this, what Charlotte's done, and she's upped the ante done a great job, and thank you so much for taking over
Oh,
this.
thank you, Randy.
And then my other thought is that I've always felt like behind every successful kid at school are a family. And congratulations to you. You did a great job.